Hey guys, this is Jamey Jordan here, and I've been working with Eastwood on my Signature Series line of new tools for the bead roller. And I want to take a second and walk you through some of these new products that we have, just so you can get familiar with using them on the bead roller. One of the next rolls we're going to talk about is the tipping die. Now for me, a tipping die is any die that's going to have a sharp blade edge to it like this. You can use this die for carving in logos, ideas, anything into metal. And you can also use this die, since it's cut at an angle, to lift up and pull from. So that way you can create a crease inside your panel as well. The first thing we're going to do is use this die in coordination with our solid lower die to carve in a design. And so when doing that, you're actually going to just line it up over the top of it, and you're going to be able to stack these on top and carve with them. We also have a universal groove roll. And with the radiuses in this groove, it's going to allow the die to fall inside there and give you a nice pleating design, similar to a bead, but a lot tighter and a little bit more intricate. So let's start with the solid roll die first, and let me show you what that one can do. Yep. So I just kind of line it up, eyeball it, make sure it's somewhere in the center. I mean, you can push it off to the edge, either way. I like it right in the center because that way it balances the panel right on the middle of the roll. Kind of gives me a nice effect where it's nice and even. Okay, now that we've got our tipping die on top and our solid roll on the bottom, what we're going to do is just kind of slide our metal in there and just create a pattern. So as soon as I feel pressure, right about there, you can see the panel moving, I'm feeling pressure. I'm only going to add, let's say, 1/4 of a turn. So that should be good enough to inlay in a line. So on this panel, we're going to go ahead and lay out a flame lick on here. You can draw it if you'd like, or you could just freehand it like we're going to do here. Yep, we're just simply carving in a line, something that we can follow later with our step rolls or even our stencil rolls to be able to lift and lower from. Now we're going to line this back up with the point here. It's just following along the line, just creating the pattern that we're looking for. We're just freehanding a little flame lick here. I guess we can start up here. Same thing, just kind of creating a nice little flamelet. Okay, as you can see, we've gone ahead and bead rolled in this flame lick. Now, this die is really good for this. You can carve in designs, logos, whatever it is, you can carve it into a panel as long as you can think it up. Another great use for this tipping die is to pair it with the solid roll on the bottom to be able to create flanges. So that's what we're going to do now. Whenever you're going to do this, you want to move your tipping die out just a little bit, so that way you've got it pushed out to the outer edge of your lower die, giving you a little meat on the other side. Then you're just going to simply line your panel up where you want to make your bend. Add some pressure, and then with this hand, lift up just a little bit with your left, and then start to go. And as you can see, it's a great way to start a bend, start a little angle happening, and you can run it over it a few times. Just remembering the more you want it to lift, the more you're going to need to lift with your left hand. And there we go. You can see it's starting to roll up. And this is a great way to start bends, joggles, anything like that. Even if you're doing some shrink and stretching and you want to have that nice starting point to where you're going to bend at, it's a good place to start with a nice little tipping die and a solid lower roll. This one works in conjunction with the lower, and what we want to do next is use this groove die, and we're going to start creating some pleats to show you a little bit different effect. Okay, now that we've got our lower die on, we want to take a second and line these guys up. One of the most important things to do whenever you're setting up your bead roll dies is to make sure that you get them lined up exactly where they need to be, and always check your profiles. So we're getting this squared up, and with this one, we want to make sure that the center of this groove here is right in the middle of this one. So now that we've got our dies on there, we're going to go ahead and do a pleat panel. And with this one, we've got some diamonds laid out, and this is what we're going to call just the easiest way to do it. Using this lower groove and this upper tipping, we'll be able to get this effect really quick. And whenever you're starting to do pleats, it's always a good idea to make sure that you start with the meat of the panel on the inside and less on the out. That way you're never shoving anything that you've rolled up underneath the machine. So find our starting point, and let's go to there. Taking a second to keeping it from flexing too much, making sure it doesn't taco up or bend up too much, and then just repeat. Another trick is whenever you're doing pleats like this is to stay away from your edges. If you see, I've got a border already drawn on here, and I'm always trying to stop a little bit short just to make sure that I don't overlay any line into the next one. So when it comes to bead rolling, we want you to be precise, but you have to understand that there is going to be a margin of error, and you should have some forgiveness on yourself. This is one of the easiest ways to learn how to bead roll, by just simply going over multiple passes, going over the same lines, kind of working your repetition, making sure that you focus on certain things like staying away from edges or learning your pressure. Something like this, where you're constantly having to go back to the same pressure and use it over and over, will teach you the muscle memory that you'll need to be successful in bead rolling. Okay everyone, as you can see, we're halfway done. We've gone ahead and started here and gone all the way across, keeping the same pressure and making sure we stay away from our edges and not pushing our lines too far down in there. And as you can see, the back is starting to come together. And what we're going to do now is just cross over these lines and finish up this pleat. So, starting down here in our lowest corner, having the weight to the inside, we're going to go ahead and do it. Taking a second as we're working on the panel, making sure that we straighten it back up a little bit, not getting too carried away with our bend, but still making sure that we keep the panel as flat as possible as we work it. All right guys, so as you can see, we've finished up all the lines on here. And that is the easy way to add yourself a set of pleats into any panel. Just by simply using the tipping die on top and the universal groove die on the bottom, and not getting too carried away with your pressure, staying away from your edges, and just taking your time to be consistent. All right guys, that was us using the tipping die in multiple fashions. We showed you how to use the tipping die with a solid lower to carve in a design. We also showed you the tipping die with the universal groove so you could do pleats, and the tipping die with the solid roll to lift up a flange.